It's pure coincidence that our pawn shop ended up on television. What makes our case special is that the American Jewellery and Loan Company was once known for its infamous on-screen brawls, but things went downhill once the camera stopped rolling. Somebody stole $500,000, 0 cents, from Lay Gold. He lost his daughter Ashley, who left the family company, and now, thanks to OnlyFans, one of the cast members earns $900,000, 0 cents, annually. The truth regarding the Gold family's secret feuds, the staged scenes, and the other actors is now emerging after a 15-year veil. Sometime in 1998, while viewing the Jerry Springer Show, a television director named Richard Dominic came across an advertisement from Detroit. Les Gold was the proprietor of a pawn shop. You couldn't help but think about Les due to his forceful demeanor, sharp voice, and stance. Dominic didn't ignore him, but nothing came of it immediately. It took another decade for that brief TV moment to blossom into a full-fledged series. Finally, True TV came around to the idea in 2009. Customers would visit Les Gold's pawn shop armed with cameras. The idea was unpopular with his family. They debated whether or not to broadcast their clients and everyday activities to a nationwide audience. Regardless, they persisted. On August 16, 2010, Hardcore Pawn made its television debut. Its first night on air drew in 2 million viewers. That made True TV's debut episode the most watched in the network's history. American Jewellery and Loan was well known among Detroit residents. When it initially opened in 1978, it was in the Green 8 shopping center. In 1993, it relocated to a massive 8-mile road building that was 50,000 square feet. Every day, around 1,000 people passed through its doors. The show showed the actual events that took place inside. Conflicts arose as a result of people's anger. They were stopped by security. Some individuals made aggressive threats, and others were pulled out and scolded. The whole thing was recorded on video. Whereas Hardcore Pawn was all about genuine tension, Pawn Stars was all about rare items and discreet deals. Les Gold confirmed its authenticity. He felt the show authentically depicted the challenges and stresses of working in a city pawn shop. Yeah, that strategy was awesome. More than 3 million individuals were tuning in to each episode by June 2013. Season 6 concluded with 3.4 million viewers. In terms of total viewers, that was True TV's all-time high. Further, on Tuesdays, it surpassed all other reality shows in terms of viewership. However, nothing remains constant indefinitely. In 2014, things started to shift. There was a noticeable decline in viewership. Season 9 saw a steady decline in ratings. As the show progressed, some viewers began to question its veracity. It appeared as though some scenes were staged. The show's authenticity was even called into question by a journalist from the New York Post. Doubt persisted despite the Gold family's assurances. At the same time, Rich Piled, one of the shop's most famous customers, left to host Meltdown, a new show on National Geographic. His departure appeared to hasten the show's demise behind the scenes. Changes were already happening at True TV. Additionally, Chris Lynn was named network president in May 2013. He felt that there was an excessive amount of emphasis on fights on the station. He preferred something less heavy. According to him, a total overhaul is planned for April 2014. Funny things were now the center of attention. The network had already decided what to do following the success of Impractical Jokers. In October 2014, as a part of a campaign called Way More Fun, True TV briefly changed its name to the new True TV. Tragic reality shows, however, were not compatible with that strategy. Following the conclusion of the show, every member of the group dispersed. In 2021, following the pandemic, many businesses were still struggling, but Les Gold was experiencing growth. he launched a trio of pawn shops in Southgate, Lincoln Park, and Hazel Park as well. This was not an unexpected shift. In 2019, Les had already expressed his desire to expand beyond 8 Mile Road in Detroit. Everything was set in motion. It was the perfect moment. The last time prices for commercial real estate fell by this much was decades ago. The property owners were keen to finalize the deals. Southgate and Lincoln Park were the most difficult areas to close deals in. Discussions lasted for months. Les failed to appoint anyone else to look after them. With the assistance of his son Seth, he personally completed the deals. Good leasing terms were available to him because his family was famous on television. Famous people were sought after by the builders in order to attract customers. Les said that. The layout of the new stores was identical to that of the original 50,000 square foot store in Detroit. Dealing directly with consumers was their primary objective. True TV's hardcore pawn became popular using this exact strategy. Nearly 200 people in Wayne County found work at the stores. Les did something out of the ordinary in late 2016, which was years before that. The cooking show Chopped, which airs on the Food Network, featured him. Although nobody expected the owner of a pawn shop to be up to the challenge, Les had honed his culinary skills during his childhood in Detroit. Because his grandparents ran a pawn shop, his parent worked long hours, leaving him to fend for himself in the kitchen. Not only that, but he cooked up a storm. His grandpa had passed down traditional Mediterranean recipes to him. Those lingered in his mind. On Chops, Les showed off those abilities to the judges. Fast, with clear choices and no stress, he approached the cooking task like a business deal. He revealed an entirely different side of himself, even though he came up short. In December 2022, Les hosted a benefit sale at their flagship store in Detroit, obtained funds for the Heat and Warmth Fund. The festival was called Hardcore Thaw. Just 3 hours later, he had raised 40 grand. The 25 items that the local celebrities and athletes had given him were put up for auction. A signed Red Wings jersey was the most valuable item, fetching $7,800.00. How was the auction conducted by Les? He manages his company in the same manner. He acted swiftly, exerted direct pressure, and took chances. According to those who were present, he was the master of the room the whole time. The final amount was $35,000.00, which Les added himself. Just activity, no news, no attention. He could see that there was more at stake than simply financial gain. It was related to surviving the Michigan winter. A report from 2018 regarding a shady business deal was the source of the company's bankruptcy. $450,000 had gone missing for Les. However, that in no way characterized him as a bad person. By the year 2025, his net worth had not changed from $5 million, 0 cents. Some pawn shops remained open. The New York Times bestseller list for his book, For What It's Worth, ranked 4. In 2009, Seth Gold became an employee of American Jewellery and Loan, which was more than just his family's business. Upon entering, his perspective shifted. Even though his father, Les, had been the shop's manager for a long time, Seth noticed something that Les had missed. Despite the fact that the world was rapidly becoming digital, the company remained offline. I didn't like that gap. Seth opted to repair it. Launching their first online store was his idea. At the time, it was a risky move. The majority of loan companies still only accepted walk-ins, but Seth saw potential in the concept. In the end, it was worthwhile. Online sales were significantly higher. The online division of the company was responsible for 30% of revenue in 2018. The store's bottom line and operational efficiency were both improved by that adjustment. Just 9 hours a day were the building's opening hours. There was no set closing time for the online store. They gained speed as a result of their quick development. Hazel Park and Pontiac both got additional stores. Now, yearly growth of 20% was within reach for the company. It was a pawn shop in Detroit that made between $5, 0 cents, and $10 million. 0 cents. The leap was quite large. Seth accomplished more than that. He was honored with the title of National Pawnbroker of the Year at the 2013 Las Vegas Pawn Expo on July 17th. It was the industry's most prestigious honor. He didn't acquire it through mere sales. His goal was to alter public perception of pawn shops. Modern business practices, more community involvement, and improved news coverage were all things he advocated for. The award was special for another reason as well. Surpassing his dad, Les, he won. Although Les Gold had achieved star status in the industry, Seth had emerged as a promising successor. In 2014, Stephen Kogler and Seth started working on a joint venture. The program was called Power to the Grid. It aided autistic people in securing employment. People with certain skills needed to be able to locate actual employment. They established a classroom in the pawn shop. When making hiring decisions, skills were considered alongside resumes. As an early hire, Michael Sancho was among the many. Despite his proficiency in photography and Photoshop and his degree from Western Michigan University, he was unable to secure consistent employment. Seth offered him an opportunity. Their online advertisements improved as a result of Michael's efforts. No, that was unkind. It was the right choice. These employees weren't merely performing their jobs well, as Seth made very apparent. Their contribution was instrumental in the expansion of the company. Seth started plotting out a second location in Detroit towards the end of 2018. Would be unique on this occasion. Precious metals and timepieces, such as gold, would take center stage. Most of the customers at the original 8 Mile shop were non-bank customers. Selling to the same people was something Seth wanted to avoid. He perused the data displayed in their stores. The price of gold had dropped to 3 times that of silver and diamonds. It was clear that they wanted it. Next, we moved on to monitoring emerging technologies. Seth co-founded Fast Pawn in 2019 with PawnMate Inc. Online bill payment and loan status updates saved customers time and effort compared to in-store transactions. It made things easier and faster. It was also consistent with Seth's primary objective. Even though the pawn shop had to adapt to the modern market, he was reluctant to let go of the things that had made it successful. Hardcore Pawn's Heather Gold has been there from the start. After 9 seasons and 16 episodes, it concluded on April 6, 2015. The show premiered on August 16, 2010. Ashley, her brother Seth, and dad Les all worked at American Jewellery and Loan. Located on 8 Mile Road in Detroit, the massive 1.5 million square foot building housed the store. As far as anyone could tell, it was a hectic, deal-making, argument-filled business. Ashley, on the other hand, experienced a transformation. She had reached her breaking point by 2015. Every day was the same. Wearing the identical black jumper, trousers, and shoes, she would get dressed every morning. After that, she would repeat the process. According to her 2016 interview, it was her Groundhog Day moment. Her health was deteriorating and her family life was disintegrating, so she knew she wasn't happy anymore. Ashley and Les were perpetually at odds on the show. Their differences were constant. The situation behind the scenes was not better. Regarding sales tactics, Seth had his own opinions. Les refused to stray from his familiar path. There she remained, unable to move. There was also the constant presence of the cameras. Every altercation became a spectacle. Concern increased as time passed. Around the turn of the year 2015, she realized she couldn't continue. The departure was not a picnic. Although she was born into the family business, Ashley aspired to be more than Les Gold's daughter. She desired independence in her life. She launched Handchick Shopping that autumn of 2015. Her journey started with a piece of jewelry she picked out online. She searched every corner of the nation for the most recent trends. There were approximately 500 items in her store at any one moment. There was high-end gold jewelry selling for $3,000, 0 cents, and $15, 0 cents fashion jewelry. She stated during her talks that her style was well received. Her famous clientele came from all over the nation, and she dressed them all. Her efforts resulted in her store's continued expansion. The name of Ashley's business was changed to Ashley.com in 2019. She also won the Detroit Garment Group's Verge Pitch competition that year. She was no stranger to television, having appeared on shows like Good Morning America, Fox News, CNN, and The Today Show. Now, her TV fame was legit. That year, in March, she launched her show, Pawnshop. She spoke to the audience weekly about style and her life. Hardcore pawn was another topic on which she began to be forthright. Even though she didn't confirm everything, she did confirm what many fans already suspected, that the show used CGI for some of its scenes. Baghdadi was a guest on one show who claimed to have witnessed people being told what to say. According to Ashley, the creators intentionally made things conflictual. They intended to dispute. Pawn Stars focused on value and history, whereas Hardcore Pawn was more about the action. Although it increased the show's fame, it also made things more challenging. The 2020 pandemic was yet another turning point in Ashley's life. Due to the snow day, schools were closed and students were expected to complete their online assignments at home. Ashley had two little girls. They were 8 and 10 years old in 2017. Both of them will turn 13 and 15 in 2020. Working from home, she managed her business and assisted with their schoolwork. Her 70-hour work week had ended. Episodes weren't being shot non-stop by her. At her new job, she drove the bus and assisted students with their assignments. Life was structured in a way that allowed her to spend quality time with her loved ones. Rather than being an act of charity, Seth informed them that improving their online listings was good for business. These employees were not only productive, but they were also driving expansion for the company. Seth started plotting out a second location in Detroit towards the end of 2018. Unlike the other one, this one would focus on luxury items like jewelry and watches. Seth aimed to attract a different demographic by opening a second store on 8 Mile, though the first one mostly catered to those without bank accounts.